Next question has to do with the newly passed budget. We have two incumbents, and somebody who's been there before, and two new people. The question is, the newly passed budget has increased the tax burden by passing $1.6 million to Tucson TUSD homeowners. What do you think, do you support it, but what can we do to ameliorate this or change it, starting this time with Victoria?
That's a toughie, because what we've been dealing with for a long time is a personal vendetta among some members of the state legislature in Maricopa County who seem to be out to get TUSD, the city of Tucson, and anything south of the Gila River. I think in this case, we're either going to have to pass something at the ballot, or we're going to have to get the majority in one of the houses, or at least parity. I think we can do that in the Senate this year. One of the most important things that a senator or a representative does is pass a budget. That budget is a sacred document. It's a living document. It says, this is what we value. This is where we put our priorities. This is what we care about most. If you look at our budget priorities during the reign of the Republican majority, you will see that what we value is private prisons. We do not value our children. That has to change.
I'll stand because I need to stretch my legs. But Victoria just concluded with, we value our children. And I think that desegregation funding is an indicator that times are changing. When the federal government sends unfunded mandates to the states like desegregation, and we have to find ways of paying for those, it's trouble. And what happened this week with kids' care would trigger an automatic freeze to kids' care as well. And so we're playing a whole new different game with a whole new president. And next year, the legislature has to be on their toes, and they have to see the web of trends. And that's one of the ones we're seeing. There is a secondary property tax increase for all homes in TUSD. And I've canvassed those homes. And a lot of those people live on a fixed income. A lot of those people inherited their homes and have difficulty paying those taxes. And it's really quite a shock knowing that Steve Smith in Phoenix was able to get a $55 million exemption for his district just for having an R behind his name. That's the power play and the dynamics that's happening in Phoenix. And you know what's tough as well? Is that voting no on the floor is what we've heard that is sufficient, but that is insufficient. You have to be proactive at anticipating what's going to happen. And that's why I believe that we need to start taking this desegregation increase very seriously, because it's the dynamic of local control playing into itself. It's the dynamic of, we're just going to pass all the costs onto Tucson, which I really disagree with, because we're only 25% of the economy, and Phoenix is 75% of it. They should take the burden too.
To be told that we don't have the money to do things, and then turn around and give a $325 million tax cut to major corporations who, if they need extra money, they're going to pass that on to us in their bills. You know, folks, it's time that we took control of all of it. It's time that we stopped allowing these people to dictate to us through their little budget that they pass up there, that they want to control our lives by passing the buck on down to us in Tucson and to southern Arizona. You know, we mention the state of Maricopa quite often, and I like that little phrase, the state of Maricopa, because it seems to be that way, but it's not altogether the state of Maricopa. We as a Democratic Party are going to have to get the vote out. we're gonna have to turn it around and let the people in Southern Arizona and the people in Arizona know that we are the Democratic Party that they used to depend on. Going door to door, I'm finding out that there's a lot of Democrats that used to be Democrats and are no longer Democrats because they don't feel the party cares about them anymore. They feel like we as a party have abandoned them. Well, if we're going to change the budget language in this state, we're going to have to change it by letting the people in Arizona know what we actually really stand for and that we haven't forgotten the everyday person. We need to get out and introduce ourselves once again to the people and ask them, what do you really want from us as a Democratic Party? That's how you're going to change that budget around. We are all very well aware of what's happening in that budget. We're very well aware of it, and it needs to end, it needs to stop. And the only way to do that is to get the vote out and turn this state once again blue.
Okay, I want to correct a few of the misstatements. So the $18 million in the DSEG money, that was part of Governor Ducey's fund shifts in order to pay for the teacher raises. So instead of the state backfilling multiple school districts for desegregation funding, the biggest of which is TUSD, they decided, they called it a reverse sweep. So they're pushing the money back on the people to pay for it rather than them paying for it. So the biggest chunk of the 18 million was 16.7 million for TUSD. Initially, Steve Smith did present the city of Maricopa, but that was taken out. And so it applied, the 9% property tax increase applies to all of the little school districts that had desegregation funding and TUSD. So that's the way that is playing out right now. Now, as Victoria said, they are definitely targeting Pima County and Tucson with bad bills and bad ideas. And so their point was that TUSD has had 40 years to figure this out, they should figure it out. Now, I think that there is a little bit of truth to pushing the TUSD school board along on the desegregation path. As far as getting rid of this, that's going to be hard to do. I think what we should do in the election is push the idea that Republicans voted to increase taxes. Because they did that twice. In the last 2 days of the legislature, they voted to increase taxes. They increased taxes on the people who live in TUSD, and they proposed to increase taxes on people who have medical marijuana cards. So, can we take down the corporate tax cuts? No. But let's balance the budget with tax increases on poor people who live in TUSD and people who have medical marijuana cards. And so there's a lot of routes that we can take on this. But again, we have to change the government because balancing the budget with 50 fund transfers from here to there and another maybe dozen or so efficiency savings, which are more fund transfers, is voodoo economics, and we need to take control of that budget right now. And that TUSD tax increase was one big red flag to Tucson that we need to move ahead and we need to take over.
This is when I'm really disappointed that Randy isn't here because he would probably give you 5 points about what perhaps ideas that he has about how to handle this. What I can tell you is that he was very disappointed when this occurred. And actually, I texted him, he must be doing surgery because he's not texting me back. But what I would like to say is that in our next newsletter, we're going to answer this question and I will let him give you all his wonderful facts that he always has. But just know that he's very disappointed about it, and I'm sure his brain is working overtime trying to figure out how to fix it.